Hey there, everybody. Gen X Man back with another Tabletop Tuesday, and we are going to roll for initiative. We are going to roll some dice today. Last week, I covered the game Land of Eem, which is a cartoony kind of world of high adventure and such. And I kind of went over the system, the development, the details were last week, and we were just back from vacation. I didn't have enough time to do a dive into the actual, the nuts and bolts of it, the making checks, the combat, the thing we show up for. Slay monsters, find out what they have inside them. So, promise for it this week. Here we are this week, and I deliver on my promises. That's why I don't make too many of them. So, we are going to have a very basic encounter. Just like the example I used with Fantasy Flight Games, where you had generic adventurer and a stormtrooper. Here we're going to have a mostly generic adventurer taking on some mostly generic monsters. But before I begin, though, at the one point, I've been reading up on this book for the past week or so, and just kind of flipping through, looking at all the information and such, and it's a fascinating presentation. But the tone, I cannot understand the tone. I feel like for lack of a better description, I feel like I'm the wrong generation to completely understand the tone of this. Because basically what you have here is you have cartoons, like absolutely, these could absolutely be Saturday morning cartoons. And you look at this and you're like, oh my God, it's cute. I want to play. I want to play with the stuffed animals. I want to play with it's like, it's going to be fun. But on the other hand, and of course, to back up that, they have changed many of the terms to be less threatening. It's not damage, it's dread. It's not hit points, it's what was it, courage. So you're kind of like, oh, okay. I see that they're softening some stuff and that they're concerned about, some things. But at the same time, characters can and do die. And even if they avoid death, they can end up with a lasting injury, such as severed this or that, missing, just all sorts of like horrific stuff. And even further, which we're going to see today, some of these monsters have absolutely gruesome ways of finishing you off. So the tone is all over the place. I'm not getting the tone. What is it, like Adventure Time maybe? Something like that. Somebody in the comments down below, if you know what they're shooting for, let me know. Outside of their own, I mean the creators, I know they made that those books, which I have not read. I know nothing about. But if you can equate it to something, that I might understand, that would be great, like Adventure Time or something. I'd be like, oh, okay, I kind of get it. So, but anyway, we're gonna have a very basic encounter today. We're just going to have a mushroom person, a mushroom, as they call them. And he is their fighter class, their warrior class called a knight errant. And basically, I went super, I didn't want to get bogged down in all the nuances of the rules. We want to keep it simple, just see how the dice roll. So he went out and he found the biggest stick he could find. So now, with the weapons and damage in this game, again, last week I kind of detailed it, but basically, your damage is determined by your class. And since I am playing the quote unquote fighter class, the Knight Errant, we are doing D10 damage. And basically, each weapon class modifies that damage. Like if you're a normal one-handed weapon of any kind, just does your class damage, which in this case would be D10. You got a two-hander, you get a +1, so it's a D10 +1 for this guy. So he went out and he found a big two-handed stick he can use to fight monsters. So he's going to be doing D10 +1 damage. Which that reminds me, I got to get on I got my D12. Everything in here is D12, except for the damage is D10. So we got our D10 as well. So now we're good. Oh yeah, if you're ever in the Grand Central Mall, this is where I got this. This beautiful little carved, I believe, maybe scored a little bit, wood burning kind of stuff on the side. So yeah, I found out at the whatever it is their vendor area is that they had to move the shop. But yeah, nice little dice box. But anyway, so we got basic fighter dude, his basic weapon. He's gonna go out and as I was flipping through the book, I saw these monsters called fungools. And here I'll show you a picture so you have an idea. Yeah, terrifying, aren't they? Like I said, the tone is all over the place. You have these okay, they're called fungules, small carnivorous mushrooms bound to the earth. They often grow in large beds, some spanning hundreds of feet, waiting for a hapless traveler to stumble into their mouths and glowing red or what stumble into their numbers. Only then do they reel their frothing, fanged mouths and glowing red eyes, ready to inflict a toxin-laced bite that renders victims paralyzed. Nasty. So yeah, they have a toxic bite that paralyzes. So this might be a very quick encounter for our adventure. We'll see. But once paralyzed, now listen to this. A bed of fungules will enter a feeding frenzy when a target falls paralyzed among them. After 3 rounds paralyzed, the target must roll to defy death, which is their death save, basically. Each round thereafter, or be devoured by fungules. So again, the tone of this, I can't emphasize that enough. The tone of this stuff is just all over the place. Forgive me, I'm getting comfortable here. We're out in the cabin room. It's a little warm, so I got the shorts on. Yes, it got hot. This is a heat wave week, and I'm not handling it well. But anyway, okay. So the first few steps, again, the tone of combat in this game is very combat, which they call conflict, has 4 phases. Phase one is parlay, where you try to talk your way out of the situation, which is interesting. I mean, I come from, I'm D&D crowd. I'm old school. Kind of like, wait, we were talking. Like I feel like once you're in conflict, you've gone beyond the point of talking. But here we are. Phase two is improvise, where you improvise a solution or such. Now that is very much Saturday morning cartoons. If y'all remember the the AD&D cartoon, D&D cartoon, whatever it was, how they would because of the censorship and Tippy Gore and all that kind of stuff, they had to find non-violent ways to solve problems. So you'd have people shooting cave mouth entrances to cave in, the bad guy, or just all sorts of creative ways not to smack each other in the face. So that's I saw that and was like, oh, okay, I get that. Phase three is run. Really? This phase, right? No. This I do these no. This nerd doesn't run. This nerd smash. Dave likes smash. Phase four is combat, finally. So we are actually for this combat, or for this conflict, I'm sorry, we're going straight to phase four and see how the system works. So first thing you do is your initiative check. This is a perception check. This is, again, like all the systems in this game, is very simplified, streamlined. All you do is you roll your d12, add any perception bonuses or minuses. We're not going to fool with that right now. Anybody who gets over a 6 goes before the bad guys. And I guess you just determine, like, if you have multiple players going before the bad guys, you just determine who goes first based on, agility, dexterity, whatever, or perception or whatever. So anyway, we're going to roll initiative for our mushroom guy named Spore. Spore. He rolls a 7. Excellent. So we have he is actually going to go before the bad guys. So he'll go, and then we're going to say there's 3 of them. They've set up a little colony outside of his mushroom village, and he has to go out with his big stick and beat back the bad guys before they get a foothold and eat the village. So there are 3 of them. Now, range and movement in this game is also incredibly simplified. You basically have range rings. There was another system that did this. It escapes me, it escapes the top of my head. It might have been in Fantasy Flight Games, to be honest, but you don't have specific hexes and such. You just have bands, where it's like, your point blank range, your near, your medium, so on and so forth. So we're not going to worry about the ranges and such. We're not even going to worry about setting up the map because the range doesn't matter. So we say, okay, he's in melee range with all 3 of them. All 3 of them are in melee range with him. So he is going to make an attack check. So he's going to roll his d12. And he rolls a 3. Not great starting out. Now, because he has a high vigor in this game, which is basically strength, he gets a +1 to attack. So his 3 becomes a 4. Their defense is. Wait, hold on. So in this game, when you make a melee attack, You're not attacking their AC or whatever. You make your roll and you consult a chart, melee combat chart. It's modified by the defense. These guys don't have a defense modifier, so the 4 points that he has stands. And on this chart, you have 1 to 2 is a critical miss, 3 to 5 is a miss with a plus. So he has a miss with a plus. Some sort of silver lining or positive outcome occurs despite missing. This could mean missing, but knocking the target closer to a nearby cliff's edge, or a mechanical bonus like setting up a flanking ally, granting advantage on their next roll. If the GM can't come up with anything in the moment, a quick solution for miss with a plus is that both the attacker and defender suffer a dread, which is dread is their name for damage. So everybody takes a point of damage. Otherwise, the GM is encouraged to collaborate with the players or roll on the following table. So we are actually going to roll on the following table. We need a d6 here. Get out our nice dice tray. Very nice. Okay, we're rolling a d6. That is a 3. No modifiers. Hit an object in the environment with positive effect. So basically, I'm going to roll this. He takes a swing with his giant stick. He misses the fungal he was aiming at, but in doing so, he just digs that stick into the dirt, hits a rock. The rock flies out and inflicts 1 damage against another fungal. And since these things only have 1 courage, 1 hit point, that fungal is eliminated. So he's playing golf with them, and one of them just got teed off. See what I did there? Dad jokes. So now it is the bad guy's turns. There are 2 of them. He has no defense bonus, so we don't need to worry about that. So they're both making melee attacks, and they have a 5 and a 7. Very middle of the road rolls on our d12. So we have miss with a plus, and we have hit with a counterattack. Now, they inflict D4 dread. Again, dread is their name for damage, so D4 damage. So the first guy does a point of damage. The second guy does a point of damage. So he's taken 2 damage, or 2 dread, I should say, taking away from his 17 courage. So he is down to 15 courage. So yes, PCs have a lot of hit points at first level here. I don't know if I haven't played it enough to know if they go up or not. If you have, comment below and let us know. So we have a miss with a plus. We're going to roll a d6 for the first guy. The first guy, he rolls a 6. Put the adversary in a bad or precarious position. So we're just going to call that disadvantage on the next roll. We're going to keep things simple. So the Murgle is snapping it and gets spore, and he's backing up like, oh, so he's trying not to get bit, knowing that they have the poisonous bite, which he's going to have to check against. And also we have the hit with a counterattack. So he takes damage. Okay. Hit with a counterattack. This is fun. The attacker hits and inflicts dread, but the target can make an attack against them. So Spore can make an attack against the second fungal that hit him. If the target then rolls a hit with a counterattack against the attacker, it happens again. So this just keeps rolling until you roll something different. So Spore gets a free attack against the second one that poked him. He has a 9 plus 1, a 10. That is just a plain Jane hit. So, oh, yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. Since he has a d10 damage, I mean, this thing is just absolutely freaking obliterated. So we're down to just one little fungal left. However, he has to make, let's see, hold on 1 second here. Okay. Again, we're consulting charts. So this isn't so much about target numbers as it is that you got the chart right here telling you. So he has to make a vitality check. And he's going to be doing this at plus. So he rolls a 5. It goes into the 6 to 8 category. Success with a twist. Success with a twist. That is interesting. So what kind of, let's see here. Okay, again, I had to consult the the charts here. Okay, success with a twist. The attempt succeeds with a complication. Now, basically, Spore got hit with this poisonous bite, and the poison will paralyze unless you make a check. And his check was success with a twist. So some examples are like You pick the lock, but you do it noisily, attracting unwanted attention. You fast talk the guard to let them in, but now they're suspicious. You escape but accidentally leave an important item behind. I don't know that this matters all that much. There's one Fungul left, so, and it didn't, the only point is to paralyze, and he didn't paralyze, so it's kind of pointless. So, anyway, so we'll go on to the next round, and, oh, that's a natural 12. We'll keep that. Okay, so we don't need to calculate that. Okay, so he obliterates the last Fungul. So, basically, that is how combat, or should I say conflict, in the Land of Eem works. Is you're making checks just like everything else, and it has charts, and it lets you know, based on the fact that he went 3v1, even though these monsters only had one hit point apiece, he went 3v1 very easily. So it seems like the combat system is forgiving, and obviously individual dungeon masters, game masters are, you can make tweaks if you feel like it's too easy. You can throw different monsters at them. I think these things are fragile simply because they got that paralytic bite, especially like, Spore here's running solo. Had he been paralyzed, he would have been screwed. There's nobody there to back him up, wake him up, etc., etc. He had been done. He'd been cooked. He'd been a cooked mushroom. Probably very tasty. Uh, comment your favorite mushroom recipe in the comments below. So anyway, this is in conclusion, I would say this is a very fast, very simplified, streamlined system where basically you're going to have a handful of charts at the ready, on your little dry erase boards and such. And you got your dice, and that's all you need. It's very, very easy and fast. Again, it's my only concern is the tonal question mark over it. Like, part of me was worried that this was aimed specifically at kids, but you read through the book, and the book absolutely has knowledge, or has language and concepts and such aimed at people who've been gaming for, we're at least in this targeted for people 20s, 30s, older, who know their way around playing TTRPGs is all, So this isn't for, hey, let's grab the kids and have a little kiddie game. This is not that. But on the other hand, it's also not, the gritty. It has the gritty realism in the consequences and such, but the presentation is completely the opposite. Yeah, again, I guess that would be my only criticism, if you would call it criticism. I think it's just a facet, just an element of the system. So, in conclusion, would I recommend this to others? Yes, absolutely. If you like, if you grew up on Saturday morning cartoons and you feel like, wouldn't it be interesting instead of playing D&D by the numbers, like we play, like 2E and so on and so forth, you want to experiment a little. You just wanted to be like, let's just have some fun, even more so than 5E is. You really want that cartoony feel. I feel like this is a solid option. And it's also a thing where you grab the book, one book by itself, you grab your dice, your pencil and paper, and you go. And it's very fast to pick up and play and roll through. So anyway, that's all I got for you today. I hope it entertained you. And in fact, I hope it educated you. I hope you got, a preview of how Land of Eem works. So, like I was telling the wife, the dice, the system, absolutely makes or breaks a setting because things like Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, etc., etc. You have iteration after iteration after iteration of gaming companies trying to find the right tone for that setting. So I wanted to make sure, like if I get anything else for this, or if I ever feature this again on anything I do, what is the tone like? Does the tone match what the book is presenting? And I think in a lot of ways it really does, except for that tonal dissonance, that question mark, which, if anybody has any thoughts on that, comments below. But anyway, that's all I got for you today. Thank you so much for clicking on, giving it a view, and welcome all the new members of the channel. We've got a lot of influx of fresh faces. Welcome. Hope I keep entertaining you again. If you like what you see here, like and subscribe. I put out multiple videos a week on a variety of subjects, and in fact, I'm planning on even more of them because there's topics I want to talk about. So I'm like, screw it, I'll do a video. So anyway, that's all I got for you guys today. Have a good one.